One of the problems we have now is there are about maybe 5 exotic species of cockroaches found in the area. And a lot of these, the majority of these are outdoor roaches. So they breed in places that have dampness, like underneath shrubs and in damp vegetation and things. When it dries out, it forces them out into the open, into looking for places that have water. So that's one thing, and now with the cutbacks and people watering their yards, we'll probably see more of them moving around. They will come indoors by accident, but they can't live indoors. So it's a problem only in that you see them particularly at night. They're a lot more active at night, and that's also temperature dependent, because the warmer it is, the more likely they are to be able to be active.
So we last spoke back in 2019 about California kind of seeing this big cockroach booms, a magnificently huge amount of cockroaches in the area. Is that still the case? Because is that still the case? We'll go there.
Yeah. So I'm seeing really large numbers of cockroaches, mostly what we call the Oriental cockroach, which is kind of an awful name, and the Turkestan roach. And these are two introduced roaches you can thank the pet industry for, because they're used as feeder roaches, and people can be kind of careless with those things, and that's how they got loose. They're not found in wildlands, so these are strictly urban and suburban inhabitants. But yeah, you're going to see them. They'll be out for sure. And the warmer it gets and the drier it gets, the more you're going to see them blundering indoors and into garages and places like that.
So I got to ask, because when we last spoke, you had mentioned we were at the crest. I'm not sure how long that crest is a crest.
I was hoping, but here's the problem. In a way, they're kind of like turkeys. I haven't seen the turkey population maximize yet. Every year it seems to get bigger and bigger. And so you have to wonder what they're eating. And same with the cockroaches. What it suggests is, A, they have no competition, and B, that there is a tremendous amount of food available for them. Otherwise, the populations couldn't get this big. And so it may very well be that they're feeding on abandoned pet food, or they're feeding on, leaf debris or things. It's hard to know, but you can't have big populations without food.
It feels weird linking everything to the pandemic, but I do want to bring it up just because it seemed to impact everything. Did somehow the pandemic have an impact on cockroach population as well?
I don't think so. I think maybe it's just that people are now going outside more, and so they're seeing them. Because I'm just noticing I'm finding more and more in my house, but it's kind of a seasonal thing. When the weather gets warm, there tend to be more of them, just because they can breed. Yeah. But they're harmless. People need to take a chill pill and just take a deep breath and, not worry about, think of it this way. What's more dangerous? A couple of cockroaches that blunder into your garage, or the insecticides you'd spray everything with in the hopes of preventing a couple of them from getting in your house? There's no comparison there. As far as I'm concerned, I'd rather just squish a couple of cockroaches than have my family and my pets exposed to the insecticides. Just because you see one, it's not like the tip of the iceberg. Because most of the ones we're seeing, like I say, they're blundering indoors. It isn't a thriving population. Now, you could have American cockroaches in your house, but that indicates a much larger issue than just a random cockroach, right? Because American cockroaches live on food waste and food debris. This is why you find them in restaurant kitchens, for example. That is an indicator of filth. But all these other cockroaches that we see outside, no.
So you've mentioned a few cockroach names as we've gone along. Can we take a minute and just kind of break down why exactly they're different? At least some of the main ones that you've mentioned. I think you mentioned Oriental cockroach, the Turkestan cockroach, and the American cockroach. I don't know if that was the main trio or if there were others that were of concern.
There are about 6, and they're all exotic species. Okay, so California does have native cockroaches, but these are either ones that live under fallen logs out in the sequoias, or they live in sand in the desert, right? So the ones that you're going to find in the urban and suburban setting are all exotic pests that have come in thanks to us. So you have, it used to be you had brown-banded cockroach and the American cockroach. Now, because of the pet trade, we also have the Turkestan roach, the Oriental cockroach, and the smoky, it's called the smoky or brown roach. And there are one or two others, but those are the main ones. Yeah.
And what was the kind of cockroach you were more likely to find indoors? If I remember
that's the American cockroach.
The American cockroach. Okay.
That one has been here a very, very long time. It's essentially cosmopolitan. It first made its way to the Americas in the old slave ships, because even though we call it the American cockroach, it's from West Africa. That's where it's native, right? Yeah. And the German cockroach is not from Germany. It's also from Africa. Don't ask it,
So let's kind of get to the heart of the issue. If people feel one way, and probably only one way, about cockroaches. That kind of begs the question, what's the big deal about them? Why do they have such a bad reputation?
I think it all stems from the American cockroach and maybe brown bandit. These pest roaches that have been here a long time that are associated directly with filth. Okay, this is what we inspect kitchens in restaurants for example. The other ones, they're outdoor roaches. They're not going to be able to breed indoors. The American cockroach and brown banded can both breed indoors. That's the problem with them, right? So you get them established in, say, a restaurant or a hotel, or maybe even somebody's house. Then you do need to get rid of them, and that's why it's important to know what kind of cockroach you're dealing with. So one of the things, I sent you copies of some of our information pages. The Bar Museum website has, under resources, we have information pages on all of these different insects that people ask us about all the time, including cockroaches, silverfish, things like that. So getting more information is always important.
And I also wanted to ask, because it sounds very ubiquitous when we talk about the populations. There's the old expression, everyone's got roaches somewhere. Mm-hmm. But I gotta ask, are there certain areas in this region that maybe are affected disproportionately, some more than others, or is it fairly equal opportunity?
I would say, well, depends on the roach. So for the outdoor roaches, mostly urban and probably mostly suburbs, because they feed on plant debris. The urban setting, probably mostly the indoor roaches, which are a problem and, are good indications of other problems, right? So, yeah, the one is just there. There's nothing you can do about it. The other one is definitely an indication of a public health problem. And then there's my personal favorite, which is the tiny roach that just got introduced into the Bay Area, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. And it is a cute little bitty cockroach that has 2 white stripes. Never gets bigger than, not even as big as your pinky nail. And they're just cute. I can't help it. And they just live outside. It's fine.
I think there was also, when I was reporting on that back in 2019, there was talk about the Turkestan roach kind of pushing the Oriental cockroach more out into the community and having it pop up. Is that still the case?
I think what I'm actually seeing, and there's no really good way of measuring this, but in some places, particularly in Southern California, the Turkestan roach seems to be displacing the Oriental cockroach. Here, I'm not seeing too much of it, but in Southern California, my colleagues tell me that it's becoming sort of the dominant outdoor roach now. It's out competing the Oriental cockroach. Here, it's still Oriental cockroach. So we're getting this kind of transition, but who knows? I thought that that would have settled down by now, but apparently the populations are still expanding and displacing each other and going through that.
I think that pretty much wraps it up for my questions, but I want to throw it back to you if there's anything else you think people should know.
As far as I can tell, you just have to know the difference between the pest roaches and the ones that are outside, right? And just get used to the idea that the outside roaches are just going to be there. There's nothing you can do about them. They're harmless. They're just one more thing in the environment. The indoor roaches, always, you need to keep an eye on those. It's very unlikely anyone's going to get them established in their house. But, in apartments, it's possible because you could have a really filthy neighbor who has a problem, and that spawns to everybody else. But, those are really the only ones you need to worry about. The other ones are absolutely immaculately clean. Much cleaner than your dog and cat, frankly.